Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in as well. And, guys, we're 59 days away from kickoff. Tell us your favorite number 59 is. Really got to dig deep. 59, not a very popular number over the course of the years, but be sure to tell us that. And, guys, let's open with recruiting because it's decision week for the Longhorns. Jerry?
Well, I got to open with the chat. The chat's been talking about favorite grocery stores in Texas. So, I mean, look, I'm pretty sure it's H-E-B or Kroger, right? I'm not sure where everybody – I think H-E-B's got the most votes here, but we'll see. We'll see as it goes on. Yeah, there's announcements coming today. Jay Hodges, we're going to get into that. Somebody said, Jason Ablinski said he's on his way to Cabo. Yeah, we hate you. But decisions are coming today, and it starts with two that Texas is not expected to win out on, but two that I think Texas will continue to fight for into the season. That is Kendall Gerville at Fort Myers, which Florida made a massive move on Monday. And really kind of in late as of late yesterday, wasn't much movement back. And then Trenton Henderson, the 5-star out of Pensacola, is I think is going to go for LSU here over Florida, and that I think pushed Florida to really make a massive move with Kendall Gerville because you can't lose all these guys in state. You can't lose all their top D linemen in state, and they've already lost James Johnson out of that state, even though Miami was probably the pick in state. But Florida still had him on an OV, and James Johnson committed to Georgia. So you have Gerville and Trenton Henderson today. Kosiok Paul is tomorrow. That's on the 3rd. He announces on the 3rd at about 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. I believe Texas is still a favorite there. In that recruitment, headed into his decision. We're going to watch some Kosiok Paula video right now. He's number 11, the guy who's really jacked and rushing off the edge and can also play in space. He is a linebacker, not an edge. I know people have him. They have him ranked at different various spots, but he is a linebacker for us that can rush the passer, very much in the Brad Spence mold, the Trey Moore mold as a player is who he kind of reminds us of. I think Texas in a pretty good spot with Paula. That's really good right there. That was good hip flexibility and agility right there to sink his hips and change direction. That's what you're looking for out of a young player. And then you can build off of that if you're Torrey Beckton and develop it. But I think Texas is doing well there. Then you have the July 4th announcements. Caden Finley, who I expect to go to Notre Dame as of today. We'll see if it changes in 48 hours. Then you have John Turntine, who I think there's a lot of confidence in Austin on John Turntine. And then you have Felix Ojo. And we'll see what Ojo does on the 4th as well. But, look, it really comes down to, we said before, Texas needs a good week. And if they can actually close out on the guys they're leading for this week, they've had a good week. They've had a great week. They've had a good week. You only have great weeks if you win a couple you're not expected to, right? But they will have had a good week if they close out on the guys they're currently leading for, and we'll see where that goes. Do Turntine and Ojo actually go to the same school? We'll see. We'll see on that at the end of the day. I've always said, we'll see. I'm not saying they won't, but I've also left the door open a little bit there. I don't think it's a lock they do.
And that makes sense because they both fashion themselves as tackles or left tackles even though we think that maybe Turntine is a more natural fit at that spot. Stark has done a good job of managing that with players and saying, look, figure it out on the field. I'm not here to tell you what you are or aren't going to be long term. You got to figure that out for yourself, no matter where you go to college. So I like Paula, Jerry. I've told you about this for a while now. Kind of flies on the radar because he's not this national high-level recruit, but he hits you, and when he tackles you, you go down. And he turns the ball over. Very active player. Former mentee of Rashad Bobineau, by the way. The Longhorn that used to be an assistant. Was he assistant coach or head coach at Mady Creek?
Defensive coordinator at Mady Creek. The thing with Okpala, too, is we have him rated. We've always had him as a 4-star plus. So in our rankings, look, we're not going to put out a national ranking of 400 kids. But so I've kind of put these guys and where I think they are. And a 4-star plus is a top 150 level player prospect in America. And that's where we believe Okpala is. He's got great lateral movement skills for his size. He's 6'2", 227, I believe is where he's at, but he can really sink his hips and change direction. He's got quickness off the edge. He's got long arms. He has got bull rush ability too. So he's got natural power. But it's his lateral agility to me, which I think he is just tremendous at. And look, how many linebackers does Penn State come to Texas and recruit? Because they've done pretty well with the linebacker hybrid edge guys. How many have they come to Texas to recruit? Not many. They brought him in on an official visit. So I think Kosi Okpala is a tremendous prospect and one Texas needs to win out on.
All fair. And if look, that's one that they circled early on and have been recruiting from the outset.
He was the first linebacker, Bobby. I should have mentioned this. You brought that right to my memory bank that Johnny Nansen went to see when he was hired at Texas in-state. He was the first guy he went to see.
Yep. And they followed through with that. Look, Calvin Thomas is another linebacker in-state Texas talked to, as well as Jason Iekwo, young man out of Georgetown area. But the reality of it is, Jerry, this is the one that they've kind of circled and went after from day one. If for whatever reason Texas doesn't get either of the players today that we don't expect them to get, and somehow fail on Okpala tomorrow, then something's truly going on, because I think Texas is hoping that Okpala is a certain part of the class at this point.
Yeah. Zane Petty asked a question while we're finished watching this tape. Any smoke on I posted on between Texas and James Lott. That's why you got to be on ontexasfootball.com. I posted something yesterday on that. I think the main thing is Oregon's in front. I think Texas is 2 and USC is 3, from what I'm gathering. Has Texas made up a little ground? Yeah, I think there were 3 a week ago. But I still think Oregon's the team to beat 6 days out. You know, this stuff, some of this, it's kind of like, it's like Xavier Crowell to me. You know, you ultimately got to, yes, Texas views Lott as a wide receiver only. You ultimately have to decide as a prospect, you know, it's a little different because Crowell's not an Alabama legacy. But you ultimately have to decide, are you going to stay in state, play for your state, kind of build your brand in your state? Or are you going to go kind of blaze your own path? And I think that, you know, I think Oregon's got a very high NIL opportunity out there. And I don't think that's a match situation, Bob. But you kind of have to decide then where you want to be at that point. Because I'm not sure Alabama had a higher NIL than Texas on Crowell.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, this is a new day and age of college football as it relates to NIL. Now that everybody is allegedly under the same salary cap, the question I have is, okay, that means that, you know, you're going to allot a certain amount to wide receivers, correct? Okay. So Jalen Lott and Caden Finley and those guys, they aren't just competing for dollars in this recruiting class like it used to be, where Texas could, I mean, anything goes in the NIL era. They're competing against Ryan Wingo for dollars. They're competing against Parker Livingstone. They're competing against potentially DeAndre Moore if he were to return. Emmett Mosley, Khalid Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon. You know, yep. I think that people need to realize that it's not just one recruiting class that they're talking about here. It's a team as a whole. And I would say this to everyone involved. I mean, I think that there are going to be opportunities for Texas to quote unquote go all in. I don't know that receiver is where they're doing that. I think they are building this team at quarterback, at offensive and defensive line. And you look around, that's where the smart money goes. That's where Georgia goes. That's where Ohio State goes. So look, it's one of those situations where people just have to realize that it's a new ball game in recruiting, just like it was a new ball game in 2021 when NIL started. Now there's NIL with limitations. So it's another new ball game that people need to realize that we're playing and that Texas is partaking in. I still believe, and I wrote this morning on Texas Football, I still believe that Texas is going to construct an elite roster and have an elite recruiting class. I'm not saying that you can't have both. I wrote this morning. I don't know if you agree with me or not, Jerry, but I have no doubt in my mind if we were still a year ago today and it was the anything goes NIL era, I wrote that I think Texas would have the #1 recruiting class in the country right now. And the reason I feel that way is because NIL wouldn't, the dollar figure wouldn't have mattered. In years past, Texas had to fight for all these guys to want to come in. Now they're wanting to come in and visit Texas immediately. I feel strongly that if this were a year ago and Texas had the same kind of reception they're getting, they would be #1 ranked recruiting class in the country right now. They're getting that level of reception.
Yeah.
Now they just got a domino. That's the effect. And sometimes, as long as this house settlement is in place, Texas isn't going to cheat. I mean, they're not going to do that. Now, they may need to find ways and loopholes, et cetera, that are legal. But as of right now, it is what it is.
LL asked Jermaine Bishop at wide receiver 2. Very possible. I mean, look, he could play. He's equally as good on either side of the ball. I could see him playing wide receiver at Texas. A lot will depend on what Jermaine Bishop wants to do following his senior season. Jolie Freehold, I know we got to get to a read, but I want to answer this. Is it short-sighted for these recruits to see NIL in the short term, 2-3 years, as opposed to long-term ROI implications, NFL career post-football? I think that's interesting as we head into, I know, ad read we have. I think, look, it depends for me. The guys who are tremendous players, if they just go handle their business, they're going to be NFL draft picks, period. They are. But they are. Look, unless you – if a Jalen Lott goes to USC, Oregon, or Texas, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a draft pick. He's that talented. So it's that stuff works itself out. It's kind of like Cason Wallace in basketball. When he was being recruited, somebody in his family asked me, and they were like, what is the best place for him? I said, if your kid handles his business, he's going to be a pro wherever he goes. I mean, like, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, your kid goes and maximizes his talent, he's going to be a pro. So that's just the way I come out. Now, the difference in the NIL is if you're talking $100,000 difference, and over a 2-year deal, that's $200,000. That's one thing. What if it's $1 million difference over 2 years? It's hard if you're going to a great program to justify not doing that. That's life-changing for an 18-year-old kid, his entire life. That's a massive difference for me.
I want to say this. I disagree with Jerry slightly on this. If you go handle your business, you'll be okay. There are places that help you handle your business better than others. So there are aspects of certain schools historically where development has been defined by strength and conditioning, by good attitudes, by keeping guys out of trouble with the law, as well as just development as a player. I mean, frankly, I'm just talking about wide receiver. Texas has pretty good history under Sark for developing wide receivers at this point. You can say what you want. I mean, Whittington, Worthy, Adonai Mitchell to a degree, Matthew Golden. I mean, Texas has done its part in that regard. Now, that doesn't mean other people can't do it too.
That's the thing.
I'm not trying to say that, but there are better places to develop. And so, you do put a little risk in that if you see one place as better than another, but the other place has more money. I get it. There's a give and take. But long story short, I mean, we'll see how all this comes out. To Jerry's point, right now, James Lott, the dad, is weighing all these decisions and with his son. I think that they're making a decision that they think is in the best interest of their family, et cetera. It's not a rash decision. And I mean, same with Jermichael Finley and his son, Caden Finley. I mean, look, if the numbers are significantly different, they just are. And so you have to make a decision what you want for your kid and what your kid wants for himself. I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and say, oh, Oregon's a horrible place or Notre Dame. Yeah. Is it Texas to me? No, but that's a different story. And they're also from Aledo and the Metroplex.
Yeah, so, going to, if Caden Finley goes to Notre Dame or Jalen Locke goes to Oregon, that's not going to keep these guys from being drafted high if they handle their business. It's just not. That's not the way this works. If these guys, if you go ball out and perform in major college football, you're going to be a drafted player.
I agree with that. What I'm saying is some places provide better routes and paths to do that, to ball out, as your quote. All right, say thank you to our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. He has been helping injured Texans for 20 plus years now. All you have to do, if you have been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, is reach out to Adam and his group at lowylawfirm.com. When you do that, they'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you might be due compensation. Again, that's lowylawfirm.com. Just reach out to Adam and he'll try to help you out as much as possible. lowylawfirm.com. Thanks, Adam, for your help on the with sponsoring on Texas football, as well as state of the program, which will come up later today.
All right, guys, and thank you for that, Bobby. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about this morning, and I wish we had a visual aid for this, but Paul Feinbaum yesterday with some incredible quotes on Texas quarterback Arch Manning, and I'm going to read it to y'all. He says he believes that Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have had since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006. He also went on to say that there's a reasonably good chance that Arch Manning will be sitting on the front row in New York at the Heisman ceremony. Curious to get y'all's thoughts on Paul's take.
When I first saw that, and Paul's a friend of the show, and I love him. My initial thought was, God, I hope he didn't have his Beano Cook moment. But that was my initial thought, and I don't necessarily think that. Look, I think I get where Paul's coming from, and I've said this. I think if Arch performs well, he's going to be the most talked about, covered college quarterback since Tim Tebow. And I do believe that. And I've believed that since the kid was in high school, honestly. It's just a different deal with him and the name, the legacy, and all of it. If he goes to, and you knew he was going to a major school, it's going to be Texas, Georgia, Bama. And if he performs well, I mean, he goes into orbit from a coverage standpoint. It's something like we haven't seen before. And it's starting now because we're 59 days out from the season, and we're a week away from SEC Media Days. It's 2 weeks away. So it's starting, Bobby. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, if Arch goes out and plays well against Ohio State, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Paul is doing Paul's job, and in many respects, in titillating the fans of college football and sparking debate, etc. My initial comments based on what he said. First of all, Tim Tebow is immensely overrated. He played on a great team and was a good quarterback, a solid quarterback. He was never a great quarterback. I'm sorry.
He was a great college football player, though.
Good. Not really for me. Immensely overrated, in my opinion. Immensely overrated. The deification of Tim Tebow cracks me up.
Hey, by the way, keeping that Florida Gators locker room together means you're a great college football player.
Oh, okay.
They had murderers in there, for gosh sake.
They did. Plural. My thought is, I just think he's always been overrated, and I think it's been me. What I would say to him is, it's one thing to say that Arch Manning's going to be potentially a Heisman candidate. It's another to put it out there. Put it out there in the way that says he's going to be the best quarterback in 20 years in college football. It's okay to say, hey, I predict he might win the Heisman or be in New York for that. It's another to put that. I mean, to Jerry's point, he mentioned Beano Cook, where Beano Cook famously, who was the Paul Feinbaum predecessor to a different level back in the day, famously said Ron Powlus, the Notre Dame quarterback, would win 4 Heismans or multiple Heismans coming out of high school, and he never did. But my point being, as it relates to this, is I feel like he's doing his job. At the same time, Paul Feinbaum is not alone in this craziness of Arch Manning. He is not alone. Blake was texting us this morning. He basically said, hey, I turned ESPN on and they were talking about Arch Manning. I left the room, came back in, and they were talking about Arch Manning in a different way. So that's what Texas fans are dealing with, and that's what college football is going to deal with. And I'm just wondering what they're thinking College Station in Norman right now every time they turn on ESPN. So that's my opinion.
All right. Well, Texas actually just released this. Athlon Sports has released their All-Americans guys, and Arch Manning, Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons all take first-team honors, followed by Jack Endries and Michael Taft getting second-team, and then Manny Muhammad and Trey Wisner. Muhammad gets third, and Wisner with fourth-team All-American honors.
Man, is that not crazy that Arch Manning is getting first. I mean, this is the whole thing, right? How does he get? I used to do these preseason publications and contribute to them and all that stuff. I would not put Arch Manning first string All-American unless I just wanted to be, titillating. Other people have proven it to this point more than him. But doesn't mean I don't think he won't end up in New York. That's what I'm getting at. Like, I think there's starting to be some unfair expectations foisted on him.
But he is that guy, because he is going to be built up and torn down
multiple times.
The build up to tear down from a media standpoint is as important as the build up and success, because there's a 2-year window to build up.
I like the pick. I like, not only do I like the pick of Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons on the first team, Jerry, I love the pick of Jack Endries at second team All-American. I want y'all to remember that when he's the number, what was he? Wait, let me make sure I got this right.
59,
58 player in the portal, but he's a second team All-American.
Yeah.
So tell me, I'm just putting that out there. We'll see what all comes out of it, but that's great publicity for 7 young Longhorns being picked to one of the 4 teams on Athlon's list. Can't believe the whole Arch Manning thing. First team All-American. I mean, seriously. I mean, how many games did he start? 3 or 2? 2 games. Came in at the end at the second quarter and the third one.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed well, but my goodness. That is categorically unfair.
Yeah.
I don't care what his last name is.
Well, I mean, just think about the other SEC quarterbacks that are. Just starting the SEC. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers. If Lenore Sellers makes a jump from year 1 to year 2 as a starter, like a lot of quarterbacks do, I don't know if South Carolina has the pieces around him, but that's going to be a bad dude in college if he makes a big jump from year 1 to year 2. I mean, people forget that was his first year to start last year, and he had South Carolina in the conversation to be in the college football playoff and won at Clemson and had some massive games. I mean, a guy that put up 2,500 passing yards, but he rushed for about 700 yards as well. And that's in year 1 as a starter. Had 2.4 TD to INT ratio, completed 65% as a first-year starter in college football in the SEC. If he makes a big jump, if that guy makes a big jump, South Carolina could end up being a playoff team potentially if he just becomes that guy. You have Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, you just think about the SEC quarterbacks in the SEC to start, and then what is DJ Lagway? We don't know about the shoulder, but DJ Lagway, guys who have played a little bit more. I'll say this: if Arch ends up being an All-American in year 1, a first or second team guy, well, if he's first team, Texas probably plays for the national championship. But even if he's a second team guy, Texas has had a whale of a season.
And while we're looking at lists, fellas, Dave Campbell's came out with their all-Texas team college list. I want to share that with you.
I love this.
Yeah, so we'll start with first-team offense. You got Arch Manning there at quarterback, DeAndre Moore at wide receiver, DJ Campbell at offensive line. So 3 Texas players on the all-Texas team preseason list from Dave Campbell's.
Le'Veon Moss coming off of 2 ACLs, but it's expected to be go because he got hurt early in the season. We'll see, but expected to be able to go this year. Bryson Washington, underrated player. Caleb Douglas, really good at Tech. I think obviously they spread the love here a little bit, but I do think we'll see. Interested to see. Nice to see Logan Parr on that list, by the way. Transfer from Texas. We said that's one of the things we talk about. Just because you can't start at Texas doesn't mean you're not a good player. This guy went to a Power 4 team that was in the playoffs. And has been a starter for them multiple years now. I do think we'll see some changes here. Obviously, these are fun lists to look at now versus after the season. I mean, I'll be surprised if Ryan Wingo's not on this list. Statistically, maybe some guys have massive years, but I'll be surprised if he's not on that list. Howard Sampson, one of the transfers to Texas Tech from North Carolina, on that list as well for Texas. I'm sure Tech's going to have a couple on defense of the transfers.
Yeah, so I will bring up the defensive one now, and they actually have 4 on the first-team defensive list, including Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Malik Muhammad, and Michael Taft.
Lee Hunter, the transfer from UCF for Texas Tech there, as we talked about. Great to see, obviously, Michael Taft. He may be the only walk-on on this list, by the way, not counting a specialist. So great for him. Albert Regis, interesting how far he's come from out of LaPorte High School, a guy that picked A&M over Texas back in the day that was an upside guy, and he's actually really started to develop. He'll be a draft pick. Devin Deal, transfer from Tulane, I believe. Y'all remember his brother from recruitment in Texas is a third year redshirt sophomore at TCU on the D-line. Obviously, Jacob Rodriguez, really good. Manny Muhammad, Taft. Interesting, Bobby, to me, will be one of the key components for A&M is Tyreek Chappelle coming off his season-ending knee injury, playing opposite corner from Will Lee. How much does he improve A&M in the secondary next year?
Yeah, I'm mixed on these lists. I think they're a little political, just from looking at the offense personally. I don't think there's any way Trevor Goosby's not on the first team. You know, I'll put it that way. I think that if you look at it, you know, could Josh Cameron, Baylor's leading receiver, would he start at Texas? I don't know. They've got him first team. I don't know that he would start at Texas.
Yeah.
So I go and look at some of this stuff, and I feel like, and I'm not trying to. I love Dave Campbell, so I'm not trying to denigrate the list, but one that I do agree with, if he's back healthy, is Le'Veon Moss at A&M. Like, I think that dude's if he's healthy with it. I mean, I absolutely categorically agree with Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where it all ends up. But I feel a little bit like, I mean, Logan Parr couldn't start at Texas. He may be a good player, Jerry. Is he going to be? I don't know.
No,
I'm not trying to be rude, but
yeah,
I think there's a little bit of that going on.
To your point, we'll take a quick look at second team guys, and CJ Baxter on there along with Gooseby and Mason Shipley. So 3 on the second team, and then I'll go ahead and bring up the second team defense.
Time out.
And,
so go back to the second team offense, please.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So Texas Tech has 2 wide receivers above Ryan Wingo.
Yeah.
0 chance. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When I just disagree. Houston Thomas from UTSA over Jack Indries, who just made a second team All-American, according to I'm always, I feel like that's a little off. I would be, in fairness, I would put Sawyer Robertson right now over Arch Manning as a first team quarterback because he's proven it. Doesn't mean I think that's where it'll end up, but that's what I would put. So, anyways, I'm sorry. Casey Concepcion's better than some guys too. So,
PJ Williams being second team OL is interesting. He's come a long way from looking like it was over a couple of years ago, by the way.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like feels like the list's a little forced. That's all I'll say.
Well, and even though Texas does have the most players overall, they actually have no one on second team defense, interestingly enough.
That's interesting. David Bailey.
Wisniewski is definitely better than Jelani McDonald, right? You know, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just my opinion. Those are the things that irk me, I guess. You know, is Ty Morris really better than Leonga Lafau, the linebacker at Rice? I don't know. I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
And David Bailey being second team defensive end, I'll just tell you, he should be first team with Colin Simmons, and then y'all figure it out from there.
He ain't being paid like second team.
Oh, I mean, 2-point-something million. Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, by the way, it is normally hump days with Hills. I think he may have had something come up today. And I had a gift to eat during his segment. The oatmeal cream pie double-decker, Blake. Remember how he talked about oatmeal cream? So in honor of Tony Hills, I'm still eating my double-decker oatmeal cream pie during the show because they are tremendous. Nick Saban, eat your heart out, buddy. I'm sure you're on a golf course in Jupiter really struggling right now, but I'm having an oatmeal cream pie.
Well, I was actually going to ask Jerry to do the Rich Wallet read, but I'm going to call an audible here and ask Bobby if you'll tell us about Vaughn Lane.
Absolutely. I will tell you about Vaughn Lane. When you need to travel between major cities in Texas, you've been stuck with two flawed options. Fly and roll the dice with airport delays, or drive and lose 5 hours to traffic, construction, and just plain fatigue, arriving stressed and worn out. Now you can choose a third way. Vaughn Lane, you arrive at a high-end airport or hotel terminal, no airport chaos, no parking nightmares, no stress, just a few easy steps. I was talking to someone last week that said they used it all the time to go up and see their kids in Austin when they were going to school there. It is the perfect time to plan ahead. Booking is open through September. A lot of games now for the Longhorns in September in Austin, so you can lock in your travel for fall football weekends in Austin, business trips to Dallas or Fort Worth, or a getaway to Houston or San Antonio. Vaughn Lane proudly serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. Visit vaughnlane.com. Use promo code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride. Vaughn Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of On Texas Football. It's a great company, and something that I think is just, it fills a very big need when you don't want to sit there. And I was in Austin again, and it takes an hour sometimes to get through security right now. It's ridiculous. It's not worth it.
Yeah. John says you've reached your calorie limit today. Let me tell you something. There's 500 calories in this thing. I may need a nap after this show's over. This is a lot, man.
Holy crap. That's a lot.
In the double-decker. 500 calories in the double-decker. I never bought one of these. I bought one at HEB this morning to have on the show with Hump Day with Hills, but 500 calories on the double-decker is a lot.
Man. All right, guys. Well, let's jump into some questions, some super chats, and plenty of time to get your questions in, so please do so. But we're going to start here with Lock and Horns. He says, good morning. Can you explain why we are less competitive with our offers following the House settlement? Does it limit NIL structures we used to be comfortable with?
It does limit NIL structures. Texas spent more than the salary cap last year on the roster. That is well documented. Okay. So now you're asking them to add a recruiting class while being above that threshold. So look, we're going to see how it goes and what happens. My point being is that it is absolutely a new day or a new dawn in college football. People have to be under the salary cap. Now, other NIL deals will happen and can be run after, but, let's see what happens. I think it's a new dawn in college football. I really do. That doesn't mean Texas is somehow hamstrung or going to have bad classes, etc. Just, think about it. Texas last year, outside of Ohio State, I think Texas spent as much money in recruiting and its team as anybody else in the country. Okay. So now my point being, what is that going to look like when you want to try to keep all those players? I mean, Justice Terry is now competing for money against the next defensive lineman that Texas signs. So do you want to keep Justice Terry? Or you want to go after a big name recruit?
Yeah.
They come from the same pool now. Before they weren't coming from the same pool, or the pool was just whatever you wanted it to be. That is changing. College football is changing. Doesn't mean it's going to be the last change, though. I mean, I talked about this, Jerry. I read an article yesterday where there's one guy that's proposing a college football draft like the NFL. I mean, that's just the most preposterous idea. Some kid from North Shore, you've been selected by Boston College in the first round I mean, that's just not going to happen. But there are people throwing out all kinds of ideas right now because you can't land on anything really fair, in my opinion. The only thing that was fair is let the market determine it, which is capitalism. But NCAA is, for whatever reason, dead set on not allowing that.
And we got lots of follow-up questions now regarding NIL. Dave Ashley, for example, says, so if Texas cannot pay as much for a recruit's NIL, can you explain how Ohio State, Florida, and Michigan are having their way?
Ohio State's not, first of all. They've been notoriously I talked to somebody up there. They've had the same issues as Texas, frankly. Georgia and Michigan were below what Texas and others were paying right now. And so they've been able to pay up a little bit. That's it.
And I mean,
Florida's the same way, by the way.
I'm also going to just continue to go back to the SEC is going to do things their way and has been for 70 years, and there ain't no stopping it.
And then we have a super chat still on NIL from Splendid Daddy. Thank you for your super chat. He says, if there was a rule against paying true freshmen any NIL, do y'all think that would be good for the sport and recruiting?
No, I don't think look, I think that they deserve money just as much as anybody else. Do they deserve as much money as a fourth-year senior that's a proven commodity? I think that's where you have to decide as a team and as a roster, as a general manager and head football coach.
And then we have a super chat from Spank B. He says, good morning, OTF. Did y'all see Paul Feinbaum say Arch is the best quarterback since Tim Tebow? Like Jerry says, build up to tear him down. Y'all's thought? Spank, we actually covered that, I believe, right before you posted the super chat. So you can rewind a little bit and see us go in depth on that.
Yeah, I've said, well, I'll add to this, that Arch Manning's the first high school recruit. And it's different because, look, when Tiger Woods, it was golf came out, there was social media wasn't. When LeBron came out, it was so much different now, right? And those guys could go, in case of LeBron, you could go straight pro. But he's the first high school athlete I've ever seen that was built up to an extremely high level, then kind of torn down as a senior for asinine things, by the way. He was the first guy I've seen in high school recruiting like that. So that was interesting to me, kind of how the trickle down effect had gone to if you're that level, and there only is one Manning name playing quarterback. So he's the first I'd seen that happen to. And people literally, oh, he threw an interception in this game, so we got to move him from number 1 overall to number 3, which is the most asinine thing of all time. It's like people just looked for reasons to tear the guy down. And it literally didn't make sense, but it was still done. And it's like people lose sight of, the things that make a guy what he is. it just that microscope was so different for him than any other recruit I've seen. It'll be interesting to see if there's another one like that that comes along. Maybe it's Marshall Manning. Maybe it's Marshall Manning when he's playing at wherever he'll play at in Denver, the private school in Denver where the McCaffreys went to, I'm sure is where he'll play. But maybe it'll be Marshall Manning. But Arch was the first guy I've ever seen torn down in high school like that as a senior. It was kind of amazing to see, actually. I didn't think I'd see that in high school recruiting.
And then our next super chat, fellas, comes from Juan Garza. Juan says, Jerry, does Kendall Graveal love Texas or likes Texas to choose Florida over Texas? Seems the money is all about it. Does really want to be in Florida? Does he really want to be in Florida?
Look, I think Kendall Graveal really, really likes Texas. And I've thought that since I was down there, and I don't think he's been shy about that. And I don't think the things he said set him up to he was playing some game. If you know him, that's not him. And the college coaches that are recruiting would tell you that's not really him. I think Florida came in and made this almost took a decision away in kind of how to say. We'll see what he announces in a few hours here. 3 hours.
Not long at all. We have a super chat from Longhorn Frenzy. He says, did y'all read where Kentucky's athletic department broke away from the school and then now created an LLC? What are y'all's thoughts on that?
They did this. It's been about a month, right? Good morning, Longhorn Frenzy, by the way. A good friend. I think that, my thoughts are there's some advantages to that and some protections with it coming and being a company. I don't think that Texas feels the need to do that or other necessarily a number of other schools have followed suit. I am of the opinion that these ideas of breaking away and even taking private equity money, which is what Florida State has discussed. Clemson is discussed to a degree, I believe. I think that universities are unique in that they need to control their product and their brand 100%. I don't think that Texas should ever sell its brand or a piece of its brand to private equity. And I know saying never is a long time, right? You never say never, but I can't imagine a scenario where the University of Texas, I could see them selling their field, a name of a field or the name of something, but I can't see it being advantageous to giving a piece of something that is part of the state of Texas, even. You know what I mean? It's not theirs to sell. It's not private equities to buy. It's like almost part of it. There's something called the Permanent University Fund that helps fund the University of Texas and higher education across the state. I mean, why would the state of Texas ever sell that to somebody else? Theoretically, they would keep the rights or their percentage. I don't know. I mean, my point being, I understand why they did it. I don't think Texas is in a situation where they need to go and do that.
I will say this, and it may not be 100% why they did it. Kentucky is not giving way in basketball to ACC and Big East programs in NIL. No way in the hell that they're letting that happen. No chance. Zero chance, right?
At our next super chat from the Loin Girder, he says, I'm out the rest of the week, so happy 4th of July. Any news on how the summer editions are doing, especially Nick Townsend?
I actually have some news and notes on the team that I have not put out there yet, either online or here. Nick Townsend doing very well. Emery Winston and Nick Townsend as a combo. Texas thinks they may have gotten 2 big-time tight ends. So I'm just going to put that out there. The other thing that I was told, Kalik Lockett coming on pretty strong this summer, as well as Dalen McCutcheon continuing his push. That's it, along with Jack injuries and Emmett Mosley from a receiving perspective. Injuries, obviously, a tight end. The other one that was brought up to me is Jelani McDonald having a terrific summer right now. So a little bit of news and notes. I'm going to put all of that together for you guys on TexasFootball.com later today. I've got a list here somewhere in my paperwork that I got to go back and read back over. But it's a number of different little tidbits like that of somebody I talked to yesterday.
And speaking of On Texas Football, Bobby, now's a great time to mention you can come join us over there. If you use promo code OTFOG, you can sign up for a full year for just $39.95. Again, on TexasFootball.com, promo code OTFOG will get you that first year for $39.95. That's for new subscribers.
Well, that's a new graphic. Put that graphic back up because those are 3 great players.
Yeah,
I want y'all to notice the how good these players are. I mean, seriously, dude. I mean, those are potentially at least 10-year plus NFL type guys. I'm putting that out there for everybody. When I talk about why I think Texas is in such good hands, I mean, all of them will be back in 2026, theoretically.
Yep.
So Texas is in really good hands. But yes, thank you, Blake, for that promo. You guys become an OTFOG, if you will.
That's right. 3 great players, Bobby, and a great deal to go with it.
There you go.
How about that? All right. So we do have more questions. I think Jerry will be joining us back here in a second. But, you're talking about the team. We have another team question from Low JM. He says, do you know if Derek Williams is back to full strength? If so, do you think he becomes an instant starter?
I don't think he's back to full strength. He's back to working out with the team. He's a little ahead of where Cedric Baxter is, if you're familiar with that, where we've been saying Baxter's more September timeframe when we think he's really going to be back. Williams will be or should be full go first or second week of fall camp is what I'm being told right now. I do not think he immediately goes to a starting role. I think he's going to have to earn it. Jelani McDonald and Michael Taft are your starters at safety right now. Doesn't mean Derek Williams is going to have to prove he's got his speed back as much as anything, guys. He's not going to have a problem hitting people. That's never been and never will be Derek Williams' issue. He's going to have to prove he's got his speed back because Jelani McDonald is as fast as you need to be, if not faster than Derek Williams. And Michael Taft is intuitive and sees things before they happen. So he's got it. Derek's going to have to work hard and, prove it. Now, is he athletic and talented enough? Hell yes. But this is not there are no free lunches in the Texas depth chart right now, in my opinion. No free lunches.
Well, we're going to stay on the player questions, Bobby. Big Poke says, you got any news on Jamie French?
Yeah, I mean, he came in a little bit more raw than Dalen McCutcheon and even more raw than Khalid Lockett, who had a lot of growth to do in his body and his framework just because of the offense he played in high school, French did. So I think he's a little bit behind those guys. Michael Terry then after those because Terry just didn't play receiver much at all. But I think that right now the top 4 or top 5, if I had to put the top 5, are Wingo, Moore, Mosley, Livingstone, and McCutcheon, with Lockett around the what's the best way to put that? Around the periphery. He will get time. What happens to Jamie French, et cetera? He's going to have a good camp.
All right, Jerry, welcome back. Can you let everyone know about Ridge Wallet?
Yes, I can. Look, man, Bobby and Blake have their Ridge wallets. Here's the thing, though. Did you ever have the crusty wallet that, just it was thick, it hurt you when you drove a long time? Throw those out. Well, not throw them out because all your cards and cash are in them, but throw the wallet out and get all the belongings out of it. You don't need it anymore. you need Ridge Wallet. Unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. Over 50 colors and styles to choose from, including that burnt orange leather look that's a favorite of all Texas fans. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers? I think it would. They have over 100,000 five-star reviews and growing by the day. Again, losing your wallet's the worst, but with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before that panic mode kicks in. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium, everyday carry essentials like cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and lifetime warranty on all of their products. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off Ridge by using code ONTEXAS, all caps at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use that code ONTEXAS, all caps, and you're all set. Tell them where you heard about Ridge Wallet from. That's On Texas Football.
All right, let's jump back into some more player questions. And a lot of people are glad you're okay. They thought maybe you had a little too much sugar a second.
No. Somebody asked how many carbs were in this, though. There's 78 grams of carbs in the double decker. Somebody also asked when my next fasting day is. It's tomorrow. That's why this is going down the hatch.
If I ate that much sugar that early in the morning, I'd get the jitters.
Someone thought maybe you went and took an insulin shot.
Only 40 grams of sugar, though, in the double decker. That's
only.
Yeah. 450 milligrams of soda. I mean, I'll live.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we're going to get back into those player questions now. A lot of people asking about Aaron Butler, fellas. Texas boy wonder says, sounds like Aaron Butler is lost in the shuffle. Wonder if he makes an impact on special teams, return man maybe. Evo's bodyguard asking, a couple of others. Y'all's thoughts?
I think that he's on the outside looking in right now. He's got to prove himself. You know, he had a year and a half head start on Dalen McCutcheon, and Dalen McCutcheon passed him up within the first 30 days. So, you know, good. From what I can tell, he's a good teammate. All these other things. Maybe he does make his impact on special teams. I will say this: there was a thought that he might be a punt returner, and I'm not sure that he catches the ball cleanly enough for that, based on what we know. So we'll see what happens. Good athlete. I think he may have been a better corner than wide receiver ultimately, but didn't want to play corner. That may have been a strategic decision by him that I may not agree with. So,
and then Hookem from Arkansas says, y'all got any news on Colton Vosick?
Just that he's as healthy as he possibly can be right now, headed into August camp, assuming he gets through July. But looks he's in really good shape. Saw him in June last month around one of the visits, the official visit weekends. Guys were going in and out of the facility, going to workouts and whatnot. Looks really good physically. Huge year for him to just stay healthy. If he does, it adds another piece to this Texas defense that you can't even count for statistically or in any other way right now. He's a 7-8 sack guy if he's healthy, in my opinion.
And then Christopher Weatherford says, has Zena gotten lost on the roster? I don't hear much about him.
Not lost. They like him a lot.
Yeah. Just got hurt in the spring, hurt his thumb.
Yeah.
He was having a really good camp until he hurt his thumb.
Yeah. I would not. I think that they feel really good about that. It's one of the reasons why, they feel good about the defensive end position long term. Because if you look at it next year, they'll obviously lose Ethan Burke this next year, and Trey Moore, even though he plays linebacker now, he's part of that edge room. But they feel good with Zena, as well as Lance Jackson, as well as Colin Simmons, obviously, Colton Vosick. They feel really good about the edge room right now.
And then one other player question from Zane Petty. He says, I thought Jelani was playing nickel right now.
No, Jelani's not playing nickel. He's been playing safety. Wardell Mack finished the spring as the number 1 at nickel, but Jalen Gilbo may rotate back to nickel instead of staying at corner.
No.
And then also, I've got to say this: Grayson Littleton is making his presence known as a nickel. So Jelani, they may rotate Jelani in on down or play him down in certain situations, but Jelani's not a natural nickel.
And that's not to say a guy doesn't take a rep.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's not playing nickel right now, and will not be his primary position in 2025. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, barring injuries.
Yeah, all the normal caveats that you would throw out there, but he's a safety.
And then Big Poke says, any news on Lance Jackson?
Just that I look at Texas is very pleased with him. For a lot of those guys, the fall camp is big, but Texas is very pleased with Lance Jackson. Looks great physically. I mean, tremendous. He is going to be a monster physically. Texas is very pleased with him. Justice Terry, the 2 freshman D linemen, even though they may interior guys, even though it's kind of to be determined how many snaps they will get in games that matter. But Myron Charles Sharma, Texas loves both. Texas loves their freshman defensive line. Their front group loves them.
And we'll do.
I want to say this. This was a text message someone sent me this morning that went and watched Texas work. Collectively, we're huge. It's just such a big physical group. How's that for a quote?
Yeah.
Look, Texas has a great roster. I mean, I don't know how top 3, top 5 in the country. Does that mean they're going to finish top 3, top 5? I don't know. But there are a lot of future NFL players on it sitting in Austin, Texas right now. And I'm not talking about guys that are going to be undrafted free agents for 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm talking about dudes.
Here's an interesting one from Tong Vu. Tong says, who gets more snaps this year, Jonah Williams or Justice Terry?
Impossible to say for me because Jonah has not had a practice in a Texas uniform yet. He sat in the meeting rooms, but he was in baseball. So he has not yet been on the practice field in a Texas football uniform. And so that it's impossible to say right now. It depends. He could just come in and pick things up and it clicks, and then he's right there in the mix. Normally, it takes a little bit of time.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Jonah Williams could be a gunner on special teams, or is that not really him?
I think Littleton is for sure.
He's big enough. Like, that's the problem with Ryan.
Keelan Robinson was a great gunner, and he was 5'9", 175, 180.
Yeah, but he was a little stem winder. Maybe Niblett is too. Maybe Niblett is too.
A lot of it's going to depend on. Look, Jonah has, again, he has to pick up a system quickly to factor in early in the season at safety. Then he's got to go through, he's a very physical player, got to go through multiple contact plays and remain healthy. You know, he's been dinged since the playoff game where he cracked his collarbone. Then he ended up getting a little hamstring in baseball, right? So he's a very physical, no regard for his body player. So he has got to pick up a system, and then he's got to bring it the physicality level he plays with, and you can't tell him to turn it off. That those players end up being average players if you tell them to turn it off. And then he's got to make it through collisions with Christian Clark and Baby Rhino and all those guys and come out the other side healthy from that in fall camp. But I think Justice Terry is definitely going to play at Texas this year. He's definitely going to play. And it's kind of like last year, though. When you go up to Ohio State, the experienced guys or the guys that have played the most college football, there's Justice Terry, are going to be your key guys in that game. But games 2, 3, and 4, as you get ready for the off week headed into Florida, I think you're going to see a lot of these young guys. And they the competition on the field, the reps on the field are going to kind of make those decisions for the staff. But Justice Terry, I think, is going to play a key role for Texas in a long season. He's just too talented. He's too ready. He's too focused not to.
That's how. That's exactly how Jerry Hamilton looked at 17.
It's how he looks now with his oatmeal cream pie.
Eating oatmeal pie.
Hey, Justice Carey could eat 2 of these for breakfast and look like that. Well, life's not fair.
Oh, man. All right, guys. One other one from Big Pokey says, one more question. Any updates on the offensive line?
I haven't. I talked to somebody again yesterday. That wasn't a big topic of conversation. It was not. I don't know that there's any. I don't know that there's any updates. Jerry and I have talked about this, and we did it yesterday as well, where Nick Brooks has been mentioned by Steve Sarkisian. Okay. Nick Brooks might be given a go at right tackle. I mean, I don't know. And yeah, is Cole Hudson for sure the center? He is going to start at center. And I think he's going to be the leader there. But, things can change. But I would pencil him as of right now, everything's in pencil. It's Trevor Gooseby at left tackle, Nato at left guard, Cole Hudson at center, DJ Campbell at right guard, and Brandon Baker at right tackle. But everything is in pencil. And I think that's the way it should be, because I'm just, as much as I want to say, Cole Hudson's 100% your starter. It's the same thing I said earlier. I mean, jobs at Texas are not given to you these days. And even though you may be the incumbent, there are people behind you that are going to play pro football. I mean, Jerry, is there a position? Let's put it this way to people. Is there a position on the University of Texas roster where there is at least one backup that's not going to play pro ball? Or that will play pro ball. So in other words, you think Daniel Cruz has a chance to play pro ball? I do.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So those first line guys, the Cole Hudsons, are going to be getting pushed. Okay. Look, Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke are going to get pushed by Landon Jackson and by Justice Terry. There's not a position on the field right now, in my opinion, where you may have a starter that's going to play a pro ball, but at least one of the backups is going to play pro ball too.
Yeah.
So there's just going to be nothing given to you. And if it's a freak that comes along, like Colin Simmons did last year, they go to the front of the line. Anthony Hill, you go to the front of the line. Yeah. Maybe Jonah Williams. And so I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I know that that's where it's at right now. And I think that we got to wait and see how it all goes.
Somebody's asking where you got your shirt, Blake.
Oh, I was just trying to give me a second to think of the name of the place that I got it from. While Bobby tells us about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
That's a great segue. Adam Lowy, our friend over here on Texas Football, been helping injured Texans for more than 20 years. He and his firm have really provided a lot of help to folks. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from ATV to 18-wheeler, make sure you give Adam and his group a shout. LoweyLawFirm.com. They'll give you a free consultation, no strings attached, for possible any kind of compensation you might be due from a car wreck or truck wreck. Again, LoweyLawFirm.com. Thank you very much, Adam, for your ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football and Coffee and Football here in the morning.
All right, guys. Well, we got time for a few more questions here. Had a lot of Jonah Williams questions. We'll take this one from Greg. How much do you think baseball is going to hurt Jonah in football in the long run?
It can slow his development a little bit, unless he's just a great player. But I mean, look, it definitely slows your development. It slows your physical development, because you aren't going to be in the Torrey Becton. You're going to miss the Torrey Becton fall off season. So it definitely can. But if he ends up being a great player, ends up being a great player. But I've said before, I do think he'll be forced to make a decision by year 3, which way he sees his career going.
I rarely do this and bring up truly off-topic posts, but I just saw something. My heart goes out here. Red Panda was hurt during a performance and rushed to the hospital. She's a staple during halftime performances at Moody. This is the woman that throws the plates up in the air.
I didn't even know who this was.
Oh, man, it's awesome stuff. It really is.
I started looking up the animal. I was like, her.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyways, hope she's all right. Hope she's all right.
All right, our next question is from Boy Wonder. He says, do y'all see Justice Terry at edge? I heard Sark mention him there.
I think he's going to rotate between 3 and 5. So a 5 technique is an edge of sorts. It's a strong side end at Texas. Or a 3. Alfred Collins did this early in his career. He played between defensive tackle and defensive end. Justice Terry is very similar in that regard. He's a little thicker than Alfred Collins was and not quite as long, but that's exactly where he was or what he is.
Yeah, and look, he came into Texas at 257 pounds, and he's now in the low to mid 270s. So we'll see how close to 300 pounds he actually gets. When you look at the photo of him, I tend to think 290 is he might end up just being a 5-tech guy,
right,
long term. We'll see. I'm not sure he ever gets to 330 on that frame. I think 290 may be it, but we had reported that when early on that he was going to be at edge, and that's where he worked out this spring. He sits in Kenny Baker a lot of the D-line meeting rooms, as well as some in the edge room. So they still have him working it both in terms of learning the positions, but frame wise, right now he is that 5-tech guy. The Kendall Gurville commitment's at noon today. We expect that to be Florida, barring a change.
Okay, guys, we've done a lot of team questions. Let's jump back over to recruiting, and we'll close with that. We've had a lot of people ask about KJ Edwards, but I want to use Champ Bailey's question to ask. He says, Bobby and Jerry, are the recruitments of Toa Katoa and or KJ Edwards completely done between Texas, or do you think there's a chance down the line for either one of them to flip?
I don't think so on Toa Katoa. We'll see on KJ Edwards. I think look, Texas is going to bring in Derek Cooper. We broke that news yesterday on ontexasfootball.com, or was it Monday? It was Monday. That Texas, I talked to a source close to him, that Texas is and Derek Cooper, Texas is saying come in for an official visit during the season, and Cooper wanted to come in for an official visit during the season. We think that'll happen. Texas will stay on Xavier Crowell too. They'll stay on him and see what happens. We'll see on KJ Edwards.
And then Jason Hablinski says, Jerry, do you see a ton of late flips like last year when the NIL dust settles?
I do see. I think it's just going to happen. I think it's in current state. I think it's going to happen every year. Like, will there come to a point where these NIL contracts are different? Yes, because I've said for a while, and I just believe this. The only place this can head is there's not really a signing period anymore. If you have your NIL deal and you sign it, you're out. You're done. That's what needs to happen, honestly, in my opinion. And I do think we're going to head to that point in time, but we're not there now. I also don't think we'll have if there's a signing period for this, I think it's going to be in July, right before August, late July. I think that's where all this is going to head. To me, it just doesn't make sense. You can't, if kids can go on official visits in April, and the college coaches are having their in-home visits in May, then why does the kid have to wait till December to sign? To me, it's just like, it doesn't make sense anymore. And I think it'll move to that. But I hear the arguments otherwise. But To me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you keep moving the clock up for all these guys. You keep accelerating everything. Then if you're sitting there making OVs in April and you can sign your NIL deal whenever, then why do you have to wait till December? But I think national letter of intent is going to go away in future years anyways. And it's going to come down to your NIL and your scholarship agreement, and that's what's going to be your binding.
And
But I don't think we're there yet, so I do expect to see. I had a circle of a player that's committing this week tell me yesterday signing day is still 6 months away, and I was like, mm-hmm.
Just telling you.
But that's why I think it's going to go away eventually.
All right, Texas T-shirt. I see you put in a super chat. But no question or comment. So if you'll put that regular in the chat, we'll try to get to it before we get out of here. And we got time for just another question or two. Daniel wants to know Tyler Atkinson. Any update on him, Jerry?
Nothing new there. Just kind of waiting on him to put out his date. I do think it'll be Georgia or Texas, barring the unforeseen. He visited Clemson. Family's originally from North Carolina, moved to the Atlanta area, I believe in Tyler's 7th grade year. So it's not like it's a family that's been in Georgia their whole life. We talk about that. Same in Texas. So many people are moving into the Atlanta area. So many people moving into DFW, Houston. All these kids don't grow up with Georgia jerseys on. But I do think Georgia's been the team to beat for Atkinson. And I think Texas is looking to be the spoiler in that. And they had a great official visit. But I have not seen a date yet. So we assume it will not be July 4th. So then we'll move on to the next week.
And Texas T-shirt did get his super chat in. And we'll close with this. Who do y'all think is the biggest miss from the Sark era? He says he's never going to get over DeCorian Moore.
I think he's a great player.
Biggest miss from the Sark era. I think DK Moore is it. I think there are going to be some smaller ones, some ones that Jaden Greathouse right now, what would he look like on this team? He's not like a top 10 pick. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not trying to put him in that category. I think Texas has to continue to recruit nationally, but I want them to continue to get guys like the Jelani McDonald's, like the Trey Wisners, that are ranked nationally, but not necessarily. Like, I don't think Fasusi's the biggest miss. Like, I just don't. I think he's a good player. I don't know that. I don't know. I mean, they got to get these guys. They've got to get the Koziak Palas and those kind of guys that are going to be starters or play a long time, football for a long time. Devin Sanchez, to me, was a huge, huge one because I think he's tremendous. Bowman's a tremendous player. I mean, you guys are naming basically top 10 players in the country right now. So those are all going to be misses. The biggest miss, though, probably DeCorian Moore. I'll go with that with Jerry.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank them, along with Bond Lane and Ridge Wallet, for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, what do you have later today for people?
We got state of the program, but we also have coming up some announcements and decisions that we think are not going to go Texas's way. I want to be clear about that so we don't give hope, false hope there. But Kendall Gerville, defensive lineman out of Fort Myers, Florida, expected to go to Florida over Texas. Trenton Henderson, defensive lineman out of Pensacola, Florida, expected to go to LSU over Texas and Florida. We'll be tracking that as well. We have state of the program. We'll have an update in the afternoon as well. And then please check in with us tonight on the live stream. We'll be back taking your questions.
I was going to say, I was looking over lists of the biggest miss. And if it's not DeCorian Moore, it may end up being Justin Williams, a linebacker from Oak Ridge at Georgia. If what I'm hearing out of Georgia is true.
Good one. He was a top 10, top 20 player in the country too.
Yeah, and he may be, yeah.
And Texans just had Joe Osai.
But again, that's a kid that's from Chicago, Bobby, that moved to Texas in 7th grade.
I get it.
So it's like just because a kid goes to high school in Texas doesn't mean he grew up an A&M or Texas guy, right? It's like
the ties aren't there like they used to be in many suburban areas in Houston, Dallas, Austin, etc.
Yeah.
All right, don't forget, by the way, to head on over to ontexasfootball.com, sign up, use promo code OTFOG if you're not a member. $39.95 for 1 year. This is for new subscribers only. We can't be on here all the time, unfortunately, but you can also get your news over at ontexasfootball.com.
And if with that subscription comes a free double-decker oatmeal cream pie, and you'll physically look like Colin Simmons within 6 months. If you ever want to look like Colin Simmons, get your subscription on Texas Football. Blake just dropped off, literally dropped off.
Yeah, he may have lost connection. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning on Texas Football. You guys have a good one. Hook 'em horns, guys. Hook 'em, Blake.
Bye, y'all. Something happened. It went crazy.